All right, we're about to dive into a story that honestly just doesn't add up. We're talking about a secret $3.3 million payment, a public lawsuit that makes no sense, and a wild accusation of extortion. Thanks to some court filings uncovered by the ATAV team, we're looking at a huge mystery that boils down to one single baffling question.
I mean, really think about that for a second. Why on earth would you secretly pay someone millions of dollars just to turn around a few years later and drag that same person into a very public lawsuit? It's completely backward, right? It makes absolutely no sense. So let's break down how we even got here.
Okay, so first things first, let's talk about the lawsuit that kicked this whole thing off. And this wasn't just any old legal filing. Oh no, this was a move that basically blew the doors off a secret deal and had a lot of people scratching their heads.
So, get this. For 6 years, both sides were in a private arbitration. Behind closed doors, away from the media, the way you'd expect. Then, completely out of the blue, the Jackson estate files a public court petition about that same private issue. It's such a weird move because it basically put a giant spotlight on something they were trying to keep quiet. Why would they do that?
To really get this, you need to know who we're talking about. So on one side, you've got the Michael Jackson estate, a massive billion-dollar operation protecting a huge legacy. And on the other side, Frank Cascio. And he wasn't just some random guy. He was a family friend who had known Michael Jackson since he was just 5 years old.
And here is where everything gets really complicated. For years after Jackson's death, Frank Cascio was actually defending him in public, saying over and over that nothing inappropriate ever happened between them. But then, something changed. His story completely flipped, and that one shift is what kicked off this whole insane chain of events.
But that public lawsuit, that's really just the tip of the iceberg because underneath it all, there was a massive secret payment. And that payment is the key to this entire story.
$3.3 million. Yep, you heard that right. And that's not a rumor. That's the amount the Jackson estate admitted in their own public court filing that they paid Frank Cascio. It's a staggering amount of money. And the big question, of course, is what in the world for?
So, officially, on paper, they called it a life rights agreement. Now, this is a pretty normal thing in the entertainment industry. It's when you pay someone for the exclusive rights to tell their life story, for a movie or a book. On the surface, it looks like a totally clean, totally legal transaction. But what if that was just a really convenient cover story? There's this theory that calling it a life rights agreement was just a super clever way to make a huge, very sensitive payment while keeping it off the official books, away from the prying eyes of the court or maybe even the estate's own family members. And this brings us to the heart of the matter. We have two completely opposite ways to look at that $3.3 million check. Was it a legit business deal, or was it something much, much darker? So this leaves us with two competing ideas. On one hand, you've got the hush money theory, that this was a secret payment to buy Frank Casio's silence about some really damaging allegations. Or, on the other hand, was it just a cold, calculated legal strategy, a practical way to make a potential problem go away whether the claims were true or not? Now, the estate side of the argument would probably be that this was a nuisance value settlement. The logic here is that defending against any allegation, even a totally false one, costs millions in legal fees and can do a ton of damage to your brand. So sometimes it's just cheaper and smarter to pay someone to just go away. But here's where that whole argument starts to fall apart for a lot of people. A nuisance settlement for a few $1,000s? Okay, sure. Maybe even 100,000? I could see it. But $3.3 million? That's not a nuisance. That's a massive, massive payment. It really makes you wonder just how big of a threat the estate thought this really was. And just when you think this story can't get any weirder, it takes another huge twist. Years after that secret payment, when Cassio's story changed, the estate didn't just play defense. Oh no, they went on the attack with a bombshell accusation of their own. So let's just quickly run through the timeline because it is wild. First, the estate secretly pays Cascio millions. Then, years later, his story changes. In response, the estate files that bizarre public lawsuit, and inside that lawsuit, they drop a massive charge against him. $213 million. That's how much the estate is claiming Frank Cascio tried to extort from them. It's a shocking, almost unbelievable number that just completely reframes the entire fight. And you gotta admit, as a legal strategy, it's kinda brilliant, if not ruthless.
It completely flips the narrative. All of a sudden, Cascio isn't a potential victim making a claim. He's painted as the aggressor, a criminal, trying to shake down the estate for a fortune.
But to really understand what this whole thing is about, we have to go back in time, way back, to 1993. Because everything, the payment, the lawsuit, the accusations, it all comes down to what allegedly happened during a world tour when Frank Cascio was just a kid.
Now, according to the AVI team's reporting, here are the key facts. During the 1993 World Tour, Frank Cascio and his siblings joined Michael Jackson, and their parents came along too. But partway through the tour, their parents left for business, and that left the children traveling alone with Michael Jackson for the rest of the tour. And that specific period of time, that's what this is all about. The full story of what Frank Cascio claims happened on that tour is sealed away because of that secret agreement. So right now, everything is hanging on a judge's ruling. If that agreement gets thrown out, an absolutely explosive story could finally be told in public.
So that's where everything stands right now. Was this a calculated, multi-million-dollar business decision to avoid a legal headache and protect a billion-dollar brand? Or was it $3.3 million spent to bury a very dark secret from that 1993 World Tour? The real answer is locked away in a courthouse, but I am very curious to know what you think.
So, what do you think is the real story here? Was it a smart legal move, or was it straight-up hush money? Let me know your theory down in the comments below. And hey, if you agree with this topic or want more like this, don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support really does motivate me to bring the best content for you.